It's 3 a.m., and I'm holed up in the tiny home office my wife and I squeeze into, clutching her iPhone, the one she guards like a hawk. The only time it's not glued to her hand is when she's passed out asleep, so I bided my time for this chance. Why am I even doing this? Am I losing it, doubting the woman I've built a life with? As a lawyer, I'm wired to spot deception. It's my job. It started with little things. A phone call cut short the second I walked into the living room. A few days later, I asked to use her phone to order takeout, and she froze for a split second before handing it over, acting all casual. But I'm not dumb. The call log and texts? Wiped clean. That's not normal. That's deliberate. What's she keeping from me? I've got to know. Most folks don't realize how easy it is to crack a smartphone. Think old school landlines were simple to tap. Phones today are even more exposed. Don't take my word for it, look it up. I even snagged a cheap ebook on iPhone security flaws. They can be jailbroken, stripped of their defenses. Our teenage daughters, sharp as they are, figured out their mom's phone the day she bought it. Now, sitting here with her phone and a USB cable, I hesitate. Am I really going through with this? Do I even want the truth? One misstep, one dirty secret, and our whole world could collapse. 19 years of marriage, a life we've carved out together, it's been mostly steady. My wife, Brenda, has always had my back, always putting our family first. She doesn't ask for much. I didn't marry her for some grand romance, but I've never once regretted it. I met Brenda at a Phi Delta Theta bash back in college. People think frats are all about money and clout, but ours was different. It wasn't about cash, it was about loyalty, brotherhood. We welcomed all types, jocks, geeks, misfits, brainiacs, as long as they were solid. I was in my second year of law school, mostly checked out from campus life. That night, though, I was stuck chaperoning a freshman mixer. Brenda strolled in with her crew, and I knew her right away. She was the daughter of my mom's closest friend. I hadn't seen her in years. She wasn't the scrawny kid I remembered anymore. She was poised, vibrant, all grown up. I had to say something. Brenda. I called out. She spun around, maybe a little buzzed, hopefully just from the party vibe, and squealed, Wes. She threw her arms around me, then planted a bold kiss, like she was claiming me in front of everyone. She'd always been lively, but that night, she was dialed up, showing off, making sure everyone knew she had the attention of the older guy, the frat brother running the show. I kept an eye on her, made sure she and her friends got back safe. Somewhere in the chaos, she decided we were a thing. We started hanging out, nothing serious. She was a freshman, I was almost done with law school. Then she pulled the plug. I want to see other people, she said. I played it cool, but deep down, I missed her. Brenda wasn't a classic beauty, but she had this spark, this energy that lit up everything. I'm all logic and restraint, she was wild, impossible to ignore. Summer hit, and while my classmates scrambled for fancy internships in places like Chicago or LA, I took a gig at a small law firm in our college town, Burlington, Vermont. Housing was a hassle, but the university hooked me up with a dorm if I supervised summer students. Brenda was around, too, taking classes. I steered clear of her until she cornered me in a hallway. We need to talk, Wes. About us. I messed up. She regretted the breakup, wanted to try again. I was skeptical but said okay. Brenda, though, dove in headfirst. Her birthday was July 28th, she turned 18 that summer. When I asked what she wanted, she didn't hesitate. I want you to be my first, Wes. I want it to be you. I was floored. That was a lot of pressure, and I told her I wasn't sure. She wouldn't budge. That Saturday, she was volunteering at a community center. I was supposed to pick her up at 5 p.m. outside the student lounge. She showed up in jeans, a faded tee, and a duffel bag slung over her shoulder. Why the bag? We lived in the same dorm. Then she spotted me, grinned, and marched over, kissing me right there in front of everyone. It wasn't just a kiss, it was a signal, a public claim. We walked to my room, quiet the whole way. I lit some candles, popped open a bottle of cheap sparkling wine. We were both nervous. I wasn't some Casanova, my experience was limited to a couple of short flings. But Brenda had ideas about how this should go. We sipped the wine, and I took my time, easing her out of her clothes, brushing my hands across her skin. When she was ready, I shed my clothes, too. She laughed, a little shy, then surprised me. Being with Brenda was different, bold, raw, like she poured everything into that moment. She wanted closeness, connection, in a way I'd never known. It wasn't just something we did often, it was intense, electric, and she always left me wanting more. Over time, that connection became just one piece of us. We grew into a real couple. Looking back, I should have noticed the red flags, but I was too deep in. I was hooked. Brenda knew it and used it, tying me to her in a way that felt like I was hers, like I belonged. I'd never had a serious relationship before. I liked being someone's everything. Eventually, she said it was time to meet her family, her parents, Patricia and Howard Granger, her younger sister, Colleen, and her little brother, Tim. The Grangers had money. Howard was a big shot at a regional bank in Syracuse, New York. Patricia taught at a local college. They were polished, warm, but you could feel them sizing you up. They treated me like gold, especially since I was a law student with prospects. Patricia and my mom went way back from high school. While my mom became a nurse, Patricia went the academic route. At 41, she looked barely 30, tall and elegant. Howard, at 46, was distinguished but worn around the edges. Colleen, 16, had her mom's grace and sharp features. Tim, 11, was already a lanky athlete. He and I hit it off right away. Over time, he became more than just my girlfriend's kid brother, he became my best buddy, long before Brenda and I were ever official. Brenda was already like family to us, practically a fixture in our home, treated like she'd always belonged. Even my younger sister, Jocelyn, looked up to her like a hero. We weren't rolling in money like Brenda's folks. My dad, Roger Halsey, ran a small equipment rental business with my Uncle Carl in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Uncle Carl was stubborn and not the brightest, but Dad? He was the heart of the operation, charming customers and keeping things afloat. Still, cash was always tight. My mom, Lorraine, worked as a nurse to help make ends meet. She was tall, with striking blonde hair, thanks to her stylist by that point, and had this quiet beauty. She'd pulled night shifts forever, eventually climbing to head nurse at the hospital in Harrisburg. By then, she was earning as much as Dad, maybe more. My relationship with Dad was trickier. He was larger than life, always pushing me to take risks. "Choose your fights wisely, Wes," he'd say. "Dodge a scrap if you can, but don't back down when it matters." We didn't always see eye to eye, but one thing he made clear, he loved Brenda. "She's your match, son," he told me. Smart, gorgeous, just like her mom. Growing up, my favorite nights were when Mom worked the late shift, 4 p.m. to midnight, on Fridays and Saturdays. Dad would let me stay up, and I'd watch Jocelyn and my little brother, Nate. He'd swing by to pick Mom up, and they'd come home with burgers and shakes. Sometimes, though, Mom got back way later than usual. I'd hear the shower running, muffled voices in their room, her soft laugh, then the familiar groan of their bed. Even when Mom picked up extra shifts to cover bills, there was warmth in our house, love holding it together. Our families were tight-knit. Mom and Brenda's mom, Patricia, were like sisters. Everyone just assumed Brenda and I were headed for marriage. Mom didn't mince words, "Brenda's a keeper, Wes. Don't mess this up. We're all waiting for the big day." She loved me, but to her, I was still a kid, especially when it came to Brenda. Things with Brenda felt simple, no pressure, just easy. But she had bigger plans. In September, she moved into my place. I was grinding through my final year of law school, trying to stay sharp, but she was set on us living together. It stretched my budget to the breaking point, but Brenda wasn't fazed. A few quiet words to her mom, and her allowance got a boost. With that came new expectations, our relationship had to get serious. By May, marriage wasn't a maybe, it was a when. One night, her voice sharp with impatience, she asked, "What's the holdup, Wes?" To her, it was obvious. I'd been her first, so in her mind, I owed her a ring. Funny thing is, it was her call back then, but to her, that didn't matter. I was weeks from graduation, staring down a solid legal career, a catch by any measure. Brenda, still in school, wasn't about to be left in the dust. She'd played her hand too well, invested too much. She always saw things through a lens of what's good for me is good for us, and the kicker? She was usually right. Her gut was sharper than mine. She pushed me to be better, made me feel like the strongest version of myself. With her, I was at my peak. So if she wanted a proposal before I left college, why was I dragging my feet? It wasn't that I didn't love her, I did. Life with Brenda was effortless. She lit up my world, kept me hooked with her fire and warmth. With her beside me, I didn't even glance at other women. I know guys who can't walk past a pretty face without wondering what she's like behind closed doors. With Brenda, that never crossed my mind. She was everything I needed. But forever? I wasn't there yet. I made excuses. She was only 18, and I was pushing 25. Sounded reasonable, but it wasn't the whole truth. Mom saw through it. Brenda's got more maturity than you, she said bluntly. I was 17 when I married your dad. It's not about age, it's about stepping up. You're living with her like she's your wife but hesitating. That shows you're not ready to be a man. She was telling me to grow up, and I wasn't sure I could. She's only 18, I argued. What if she wakes up one day regretting she didn't live more of her youth? Mom shot back, you're the one scared of missing out, Wes. You're about to get your law degree, start your career, and you're thinking of leaving her behind. She wasn't wrong. Brenda had too much pull, too many people in her corner. I caved. A week after passing the bar exam, we tied the knot. No bachelor party, I didn't have time. I was pulling 20-hour study marathons for the Pennsylvania bar, one of the toughest out there. Even top grads from Ivy League schools only had a 42% pass rate. By the time my results came in, Brenda was 3 months pregnant. Officially, it was an oops, but anyone buying that was kidding themselves. Brenda had locked in her future. 3 days before my bar results dropped, we learned we were having twins. I was already a wreck, waiting to see if I'd passed. My job at the firm where I'd interned the summer Brenda and I got together hinged on it. Failing meant losing it all, passing meant a raise we badly needed. Even with that, money was tight. Brenda's confidence never wavered, but I felt the weight of it all pressing down. I was clocking 60-hour weeks just to keep us in diapers. Brenda, though, didn't let pregnancy or our tight budget slow her down. She aced her last junior year exam an hour before her water broke. 5 hours later, without so much as a grumble, she brought our two perfect, identical twin girls into the world. The moment I saw them, I was done for head over heels in love. 18 years later, I still adore them, though it's a different kind of love now. Those early years were brutal. Money was scarce, and our cramped apartment in Eugene, Oregon, seemed to shrink daily. But Brenda? She never whined. Fatherhood hit me like a tidal wave, part awe, part terror. I'll never forget tucking the girls in, reading them The Velveteen Rabbit, James and the Giant Peach, or The Secret Garden. They were my universe, convinced I could fix anything, even make the rain stop with a grin. Life was tough, but their giggles, their tight hugs, those made every struggle worthwhile. Not every moment was storybooks and warmth, though. One night, both girls got rushed to the hospital with high fevers. I fell apart, panic swallowing me whole. Brenda didn't flinch. She grabbed my face, her eyes locking onto mine. Wes, listen, she said, steady as a rock. They're going to be okay. Believe it. And no matter what, I'm here, always. In those early days, she was the glue holding our marriage together. I don't know if I'd have made it without her. I wanted to give her the world, to succeed for her, for our girls. Before marriage and kids, I wasn't exactly driven. Truth be told, I was coasting. But love, responsibility, fatherhood, they lit a fire in me, made me relentless. To get ahead, I made sacrifices. Breaking into law was a grind, long hours, high stakes, no quick rewards. I had to outsmart the competition, exploit every loophole, work every angle. At home, Brenda and the twins, Abigail and Meredith, Abby and Mary, made it all worth it. Brenda took night classes while I handled bedtime routines. I was wiped out, but I was content. By the time the girls hit kindergarten, she'd earned her PhD and started teaching at a community college in Salem. 3 years later, she landed a full professorship, specializing in Renaissance literature. Her paycheck helped, but by then, I'd already made it. I was a partner at my law firm, though I hadn't always played clean to get there. Most folks think owning a home is a given, like the government could never just take it away. But it happens all the time. Eminent domain lets the state seize land for public good, think roads, schools, or libraries. Sounds fair on paper, with homeowners supposedly compensated. In reality, if you trust the system to play nice, you're the kind who loses everything. That's where lawyers like me step in. Eminent domain cases have strict rules, and a sharp attorney knows how to bend them. Most homeowners don't have lawyers or hire rookies. The trick to winning in foreclosure law? Be the name people call first. I had an edge. In law school, my last name, Halsey, put me next to Garrett Hensley, a driven guy with serious political ties. He rose fast, landing a gig as legal counsel for the Oregon State Senate's Committee on Infrastructure and Development, which oversaw eminent domain. It's not about public projects anymore, it's a weapon. The powerful use it to snatch land from the vulnerable. These days, seized property doesn't build bridges or hospitals, it goes to private developers. They call it revitalization, but it's robbery with a paper trail. Don't believe me? Look at the new headquarters for a major newspaper in Portland. Prime downtown land, taken via eminent domain. Word is, the deal saved them $70 million. Funny how they didn't print that part. My job was to fight for my clients, or at least fight as far as the system allowed. I played it smart, hired appraisers who gave me the numbers I wanted, made sure property valuation officials had cozy side deals with me. My clients got better payouts than they would have otherwise. But the real secret? Knowing what was coming before anyone else. That's where Garrett came in. It started small, a quiet tip about a land grab near the Willamette River. Then it became routine, cash for intel. Garrett had a vice, gambling. Poker, slots, tribal casinos, he was always in the red. Not bribes, exactly, just loans he never repaid. My firm's partners were impressed by my knack for spotting deals. My instincts made them rich. For years, it ran like clockwork, nothing outright illegal, just a bit of insider knowledge, a little maneuvering. I told myself I was helping people, but once you cross one line, the next one's easier. Then I crossed another. I hacked Brenda's phone. The spyware was cutting edge. Every call logged, every text sent to my device, even live conversations I could tap into. In theory, nothing she did could stay hidden. But real life's messier. The first day, she was on the phone for 5 hours. Sifting through it was mind-numbing, 40 minutes on a scarf she liked at a boutique, an hour dissecting a novel with a colleague. 3 weeks of eavesdropping on mundane chatter left me convinced she wasn't hiding anything dramatic, but I couldn't shake the nagging doubt. I was ready to ditch the spyware, convinced I'd been chasing shadows. Then my phone lit up during a meeting, 3 notifications in a row. Brenda and I hardly ever texted, neither of us was big on it. I glanced at the screen, 3 intercepted messages. We've only got 2 days, Jake. I miss you so much. When and where? Then the reply, Murphy's at 12 o'clock. Love you. My mind took a second to catch up. Brenda had a lunch date with some guy named Jake. Someone she missed. Someone she loved. Murphy's was a low-key spot just outside Fort Collins, Colorado, the kind of place you pick when you're trying to fly under the radar. It was already past noon, no way I'd get there in time. But I had a trick up my sleeve, I could listen in. I opened the spyware on my tablet, grabbed my keys, and slid into my car. At first, it was just street noise, Brenda was still driving. Then came the hum of a restaurant. A woman's voice, polite and crisp, cut through. Good afternoon, can I help you? A man answered, short and to the point. I'm meeting someone. A brief pause, then the woman again, warmer now. Oh, here he is. There was a rustle, maybe a hug, maybe something more. Brenda sat down. They swapped small talk, his voice smooth, self-assured, younger than I'd pictured. Then, just as I dreaded, he turned the focus to her, showering her with compliments, her hair, her outfit, her glow, her youth. The words rolled off his tongue, seduction as easy as breathing. I wanted to despise him. Their food arrived, and the mood shifted. Then I heard him say my name. Your husband, Wes. Guy's totally stiff. Brenda didn't push back. Old, boring, predictable, he went on. You're too good for him. This wasn't just lunch. This was something deeper, something dangerous. His voice dropped, confident. I want you, Brenda. We could be real. She paused. I can't, she said. I'm married. Wes and I, we're supposed to grow old together. He laughed, sharp. He's already there. You're still young. Why waste it? A long silence. Then, softer, her voice shook. I can't just leave him. We'd have to be careful. Another pause, then, barely audible, she admitted, I've only ever been with Wes. I love him, but you make me feel alive, like I'm missing something without you. You just need me to show you, he murmured. What do you feel for him? That's duty, not love. She let out a shaky breath. I need time, for everyone's sake. His tone turned impatient. I've been waiting long enough. I know, she said quietly. But I have to handle this right. Fine, he snapped. Just don't keep me waiting forever. I pulled into Murphy's parking lot, staying far enough back to blend in. Brenda's car was parked near the entrance. Through my earpiece, their voices stayed low, intimate. She was making promises, saying she'd sort things out. I still love Wes, she whispered. We've been together so long. I owe it to him to keep our family intact. That's why I love you, he murmured. You feel everything so deeply. Then I saw them. Brenda looked radiant, polished, dressed way sharper than when she'd left the house that morning. Him? Tall, fit, with a deep, warm complexion, smooth as oak. Handsome, I guess, but young, barely 30. When they parted, he pulled her close, his hands tracing her curves, pressing against her. She let him, just for a moment, before stepping back. I braced for anger, but jealousy didn't hit like I expected. Sure, I wanted to deck him, grab a tire iron and catch him off guard. Fair? No. But there's nothing fair about a guy chasing another man's wife. I wasn't blind, though. He didn't love her, he wanted her. Once the thrill faded, he'd bolt. And deep down, I knew Brenda saw it too. She wasn't naive. She was choosing this, not just him, but what it meant for us. Did she think I'd just roll over? Our marriage was like most, maybe a few guys truly call the shots, but the rest of us? We compromise, adjust, make peace. I never won arguments with Brenda. Even when I thought I hadn't. She always got her way. Our intimate moments were no different. She loved them, but they were always on her terms. I never had to plead, but when her interest started to wane, I felt more relieved than frustrated. Brenda had this knack for making her wants feel like ours, like her desires were our shared goals. She didn't argue, she wore me down. Still, she was an incredible wife, a fierce mom. She taught, studied, and ran the house. I pitched in, but she was the powerhouse, the one who kept it all together. If she steered me, it wasn't cruel, it was just her way. I only resented it in moments like this, when I saw how much she relished that control. Every married guy with a bit of self-awareness knows his wife shapes him, nudges him, bends him to fit her vision. It's just how it works. But Jake? He was different. I got why she was drawn to him. He was new, exciting, a spark that reminded her of life could still surprise her. His background, his difference, added to the thrill. But it wouldn't last. Jake was the first, but he wouldn't be the last. That thought hit harder than anything, not because of him, but because I knew Brenda could mold me into the kind of husband who'd tolerate this. And what could I do? Stay or walk away? Leaving wasn't simple. We'd built a life, raised kids, weathered too much. I hated admitting it, but I needed her. After all these years, I didn't know who I'd be without her. That night, I tried to act normal, but Brenda saw through me. She frowned. What's wrong, Wes? I shrugged. Nothing. Just a long day at work. She studied me, not buying it. You're pushing too hard, she said softly. You need to take it easy, maybe hit the gym, look after yourself. I stared at Brenda, her words about the gym lingering. I joined one a year ago, sneaking out each morning before she stirred. I'd shed 13 of the 18 pounds I'd packed on over the years, working with a trainer, committed to turning things around. But Brenda's pull toward Jake wasn't about my waistline. To her, I was a broken-in pair of boots, reliable, comfortable, but dull. Jake? He was the shiny new jacket she wanted to slip into, just to feel something fresh. Deep down, though, she'd stick with the boots, even if she didn't value them like she used to. I didn't take it to heart. I knew Brenda had choices to make. The next day, a surprise hit me, a flagged message from the spyware, a phone call I nearly skipped. Curiosity got the better of me. I tapped in just as Brenda picked up. "Hey, Mom," she said. "I'm checking on Thanksgiving. Are you bringing the pecan pie and green bean casserole?" Her mom, Patricia's voice came through, kind but firm. "Of course, honey. But tell me, how was lunch with Jake?" Brenda faltered. "Oh, Mom, he's incredible, but he wants more, and I can't." "Why not?" Patricia pressed. "Because I'm married. I chose Wes." A sigh, then Patricia's tone sharpened. "You've given him everything, Brenda. What's he given back? You had chances to fix this years ago, but you've lost your edge now. The girls are grown, you can't lean on them anymore." "I'd never do that," Brenda said, resolute. "I might be a lousy wife, but I won't be a bad mom." "Nonsense," Patricia shot back. "You've been a stellar wife. Has Wes ever complained?" "No. You built a perfect home, raised 2 brilliant daughters, and you earn more than him. You've made his life a breeze." Brenda's voice wavered. "Yeah, but this is betrayal." "Only if he doesn't agree," her mom countered. "Men and women aren't wired the same. Women hit their stride later, men's fire dims, but ours burns brighter. We crave variety, they just want relief. You could juggle multiple men while Wes is capped by his limits. If he loves you, he'll get it." A long pause. Brenda sighed. "I don't know. Wes is old school, sentimental. Would he really go for this? And if he doesn't, I can't lose him." "You won't," Patricia assured her. "Look at your dad. He's no rocket scientist, but I've had other men for nearly 30 years. He adapted. Wes will too. Lorraine made sure of that when she nudged him toward you. Let me talk to her, she knows him better than anyone." After some small talk, the call ended. I sat there, stunned, a sick feeling twisting in my gut. Lorraine, my own mom, had pushed me into marrying Brenda. I'd always sensed something, but I'd never let myself believe it. Now, the spyware had ripped the veil off, exposing more than I was ready to face. Hearing the raw thoughts of the people closest to you is like staring into a mirror that strips away every cozy lie. What I saw staring back wasn't pretty. For days, I waited for something to break, a confrontation, a revelation. Nothing came. Then another call pinged through, this time from Meredith. "Hey, Mom," she said. "Abby and I are rolling into Fort Collins late Tuesday for Thanksgiving, but we're heading back Saturday. Got plans with some basketball players after their game Sunday." "All right," Brenda replied. "I'll tell your dad." "But isn't Abby still with that track guy, Kyle?" Meredith laughed. "Yeah, but he just deals with it." Brenda sighed. "Guess things have changed if guys are fine with their girlfriends seeing other people." "Oh, Mom, don't be so stuck in the past," Meredith teased. "Speaking of, how's it going with Jake?" "No way," Brenda said firmly. "I'm married to your dad." Meredith chuckled. "Come on, Mom. Dad's getting up there. You're still young. You can't let outdated rules stop you from having fun. He'll understand. He loves you. Who else would want him?" Laughter crackled through the line, and Abigail's voice jumped in. "Mom, want us to talk to Dad? We can lay it out, remind him of everything you've done for him. He worships you. It's not fair for you to be stuck with just one guy forever." Brenda hesitated. "I don't know. He never fights me, but he's sensitive. When he was younger, he could have wandered, but he never did. I don't think he sees it like you two do. But he loves you," Meredith pressed. "Tell him how much this means to you. Say he'll always be number one." "That's what I told Kyle," Abigail added, "and he's cool with it." "Well, your grandma's already talking to Grandma Halsey," Brenda said. "I just hope your dad gets that Jake isn't replacing him. What Jake and I have doesn't touch what your dad and I share." Hearing my daughters talk about me like that didn't just sting, it crushed me. The worst part? I should have been relieved they thought Brenda still loved me, but I wasn't. For days, I wrestled with it, my emotions a tangled mess. Then I took a hard look at myself. Sure, I'd been hitting the gym, in better shape than I'd been in years. But I'd ignored the gray creeping into my hair, the tired wardrobe I clung to out of habit. Lawyers are supposed to look sharp, not outdated, so I hit up a high-end salon in Fort Collins. They toned down the gray, gave me a modern cut, styled it just right. Brenda didn't say a thing. I wasn't 30 again, but I didn't look like I was barreling toward 50 either. Still, neither Brenda nor the girls batted an eye. When Abigail and Meredith rolled in for Thanksgiving, I figured I'd get some kind of comment. Nada. Just the same half-hearted pecks on the cheek they'd been giving me for years. I'd become a ghost in my own house. Truth is, we barely had anything in common anymore. I knew way more about them than they'd ever know about me. I've always kept to myself, and because of that, they'd built this warped version of who I was in their heads. Thanksgiving hit, and our extended family piled in, 20 people crammed into our place. They showed up early for the parade, then settled in for football. The guys took over the living room, the women claimed the kitchen. I popped in to check on my sister-in-law, Colleen, and Tim's wife, Hannah, who were wrangling the younger kids. Meredith was pitching in. Then I slipped away to my office, locked the door, and plugged in my earbuds. Through Brenda's phone, I tapped into the chatter unfolding in the kitchen. He just ducked into his office and shut the door, Abigail noted. My mom, Lorraine's voice sliced through, pointed. What's going on with my son? What do you mean, Mom? Brenda asked. Well, for one, he's dressing sharper, got his hair fixed up, and if I'm not mistaken, there's less gray, Lorraine said. I noticed something, Brenda admitted, but I couldn't pin it down. He's also dropped some weight. My sister, Jocelyn, who hadn't seen me since last Christmas, chimed in. Yeah, he's looking different. Maybe, Lorraine said. I don't know, Brenda added. He's been off lately. I thought it was work stress. You don't think he knows about Jake, do you? Patricia, my mother-in-law, asked. A heavy pause. Brenda spoke up. No way. And even if he did, what's there to know? I haven't done anything with Jake. Maybe it's just a midlife thing, Lorraine mused. He's at that age. With the girls out of the house, he might be feeling adrift, Patricia agreed. That'd explain the sudden makeover, Colleen added. Then we need to tread lightly, Lorraine warned. If this is a midlife crisis, we handle it with care. Brenda hesitated. Maybe I should cool things with Jake for now. Don't be silly, Lorraine snapped. Wes just needs direction. He needs to stick to the plan. Second-guessing yourself won't help. Abigail giggled. So, should Mom just tell him she wants a side guy? Not straight out, Lorraine said. We should have the men talk to him first. Let him hear it from his dad and Howard. They've been through this, and they're content. No reason Wes can't be too. But if he's feeling shaky, now's not the time to flaunt a younger guy. We ease him into it. You mean ease him into accepting another man in Mom's life? Abigail asked, barely holding back a laugh. Not at all, Lorraine said sharply. Your dad's a good man, proud, devoted. If we play this right, he'll come around. I've never neglected your father, she added. I've never taken a lover without ensuring he was happy. He might have been on the sidelines, but in my heart, he's always first. Roger knows he's my everything. Now, Brenda, you take the lead, but we've all got your back. A murmur of agreement followed. As I sat there, their words carving out my life, I realized they weren't just talking about me, they were plotting how to remind me. They didn't see it as convincing me to accept an affair. No, to them, it was about giving Brenda the freedom she'd earned. She'd given up her youth, poured herself into our family. Now that the girls were gone, wasn't it fair for her to chase a little joy? Lorraine led the charge, speaking with the confidence of someone who'd lived by these rules forever. They talked about me like I was a stubborn kid who needed a gentle nudge. I listened until I couldn't stomach it anymore. I ripped off my earbuds, stormed out of my office, and left the house. I walked for miles, thoughts churning, anger smoldering under my skin. By the time I got back, the place was still buzzing with laughter and chatter. Nobody even noticed I'd been gone. Later that night, after the guests cleared out and the girls were upstairs, Brenda finally asked, "What's wrong, Wes?" I shrugged. I don't know. Feels like everything's shifting, and I'm not sure I'm ready for it. She curled up next to me, wrapping her arms around me like she always did. No matter what, I'll always love you, she said. You've been, and always will be, the most important person in my life. Once, that would have soothed me. Now, it felt like a calculated jab, designed to weigh on my conscience. She always knew how to make me feel guilty. The first Saturday in December, I went to a Denver Broncos game with my dad, Roger, and father-in-law, Howard. Howard scored the tickets, Dad covered the limo and beers. It was all part of their plan. After some casual chatter, they got to the point. They pitched me on how a younger guy could spark Brenda's happiness, how true love meant letting her have what she needed. I let my dad and Howard talk, their words washing over me at the Broncos game. As the crowd thinned out, I finally spoke up. If I ever catch Brenda with another man, our marriage is done. No exceptions. For 15 minutes, they pushed back, calling me stubborn, old-fashioned. I didn't waver. If she cheats, I'm gone. Who wants a wife who steps out? That shut them up for a moment. Then they mumbled about needing a bathroom break. By the time they got back, the stadium was a ghost town. We rode home in silence. What I didn't know was that their break included a call home. By the time we pulled up, my mom, Lorraine, and mother-in-law, Patricia, had already filled Brenda in. The plan was rolling. Less than a week later, they dragged me to a ritzy gentleman's club in Denver, dim lights, overpriced drinks, women strutting around in barely their outfits. Same tired pitch about mature marriages. I sat there, nursing a soda, listening to their nonsense. Then I stood. I can't imagine swapping my wife's loyalty for a cheap dance. I walked out, hailed a cab, and went home. They never brought it up again. As Christmas neared, I knew Brenda and Jake had picked a date. They had time off, thinking I'd be stuck at the office. But they'd missed one thing: they weren't the only ones with secrets. I wasn't exactly a saint. For years, I'd towed the line between ethical and lucrative. Then I crossed it. It started with scraps of land, worthless patches with no road access. Farmers, strapped for cash, had sold off the front lots, leaving their backfields cut off. Then a big retailer needed land for a distribution center near a Colorado highway. They also needed a new exit ramp, and my buddy Garrett, with his insider connections, got the scoop before it went public. While I was helping property owners as their lawyer, I spotted a for sale sign: 250 acres of overgrown pasture, remnants of an old cattle ranch. On paper, maybe $1,600 an acre. Soon, it'd be worth 20 times that. I drained our savings, cashed out my 401k, and left us broke. I hid the purchase under a Nevada shell company, no trace back to me. I couldn't tell Brenda where the money went, so I lied, blamed the market, slow business, tough times. Any other wife might have grilled me. Not Brenda. "We'll be fine, Wes," she said, brushing it off. "As long as we've got our health and each other, what's it matter?" She tightened the budget, took on extra classes, and didn't buy herself a new outfit for over a year. I swore I'd make it right, but that day never came. 2 years later, I sold the last acre for $21,000 each. I was loaded. By then, I was already buying ahead of the state, always just outside their official grabs. People started whispering. The real players, politicians, developers, didn't want to probe. As long as I kept my mouth shut, they left me alone. I never touched the money. I told myself it was for our future, that I'd come up with a clean story someday. The last thing I wanted was Brenda knowing what kind of man I'd become. Christmas Eve was for extended family, Christmas Day was ours. As always, Brenda and Lorraine had planned it all: a huge turkey, Patricia's famous roasted pork, Mom's classic glazed ham. I was hauling the turkey out of Brenda's shiny new Audi, a birthday gift from her parents, when Lorraine cornered me. "Wes," she said, her tone leaving no wiggle room, "when you're done, we need to talk." It wasn't optional. She led me to my dad's study, patted the couch beside her. I sat. She took my hands, squeezing them like when I was a kid. "You haven't been yourself," she said softly. "If something's wrong, the family's here." She searched my face, fishing for a confession. I stayed quiet. She wasn't dumb, she knew. Her voice softened. "Wes, a good man, supports his wife's needs. A real husband makes sacrifices, like Brenda's done for you." She'd figured out I wasn't as clueless as they thought, but instead of backing off, she doubled down, framing it as my duty. In her mind, this wasn't betrayal, it was the right thing. She'd misjudged her son, and that was on me. I'd played the fool so long they believed it. To them, I was the clueless husband they could steer with talk of love and responsibility. They were dead wrong. I wasn't that guy anymore. The spyware had exposed their secrets, showing me the truth about the people I thought I knew. I don't see how a wife stepping out is something to be proud of, I said. She flinched but didn't answer. Everything's a deal, I went on. We make promises, not always about money. Some are deeper. We take vows before God, asking for His blessing. We mess up, but we try. I locked eyes with her. Otherwise, a woman might kiss her kids goodnight with lips still fresh from breaking her husband's trust. She froze, whatever she'd planned to say gone. Shock, shame, anger, then pain crossed her face. Her voice was a whisper. Wes, what did you just say? I held her gaze, unflinching. Kissing your kids after betraying their dad is wrong. Her hands slipped from mine. She shot up, nearly tripping as she rushed out. In the hallway, Brenda was waiting. Mom, what's wrong? She asked, worried in her voice. This was orchestrated, maybe the whole family was braced for this showdown. I slipped out the front door, Brenda's spare car keys in my pocket. I got in and drove. I ended up at Willow Creek Overlook, a spot we called Sweetheart's Path back in high school. It took me until senior year to muster the guts to bring a girl there, and even then, I barely got a kiss. I was never the smooth-talking type, charming my way into anyone's heart. By the time I was 25, fresh out of law school, I was still figuring it out. Everything had shifted. Women glanced my way differently, but I was already locked in. Brenda had me in her grasp, and she wasn't letting go. When she wanted me, I was supposed to show up. Now that she wanted Jake, I was expected to step back. It was warped reasoning, but to her, it made sense. Brenda had shaped our world, our home, our kids, our future. I wouldn't have this life without her. Now she craved a spark, a fling. She wasn't stopping me from having the same freedom, she just figured I didn't have it in me to act on it. In her eyes, I was washed up, pitiful. My mom's meddling was meant to comfort me, to show I was still valued, still part of the plan. But their pity only confirmed how they saw me, weak. I wasn't always this sharp, but I'd learned to play the game. I'd watched, adapted, not because I had to, but because I wanted to win. Not for cash or clout, losing to Brenda meant losing it all, and I'd been losing for 20 years. I parked at Willow Creek Overlook, pulled out my tablet, and tapped into the spyware. Meredith's voice came through. He's gone, and Mom's car's missing. Hannah, Tim's wife, added, if we're lucky, he won't come. I always knew Hannah didn't care for me, but now she had her excuse. Hannah was trouble, sultry, sly, the kind of woman who turned men into fools. Tim wasn't a genius, but he had money and status. Hannah had locked in her spot with him. Their 5-year-old son had sandy hair and green eyes, just like his dad. I'd always wondered. Lorraine's voice cut in, laying out her plan. My son's bullheaded, she said. He practically called me a traitor. That doesn't sound like Wes, Patricia replied. He's too decent for that. He knows too much, Lorraine snapped. The men must have messed up. Brenda's voice broke in, tense. So what now? I don't want to lose my husband. We play it smart, Lorraine said. If he won't agree, we'll make him. My sister, Jocelyn, piped up. Don't underestimate Wes. He's always been sharp. She meant the card games as a kid. I'd figured out our Uncle Ray was rigging the deck. Everyone knew but stayed quiet, it was just nickels. Still, I hated being played. I studied his tricks for weeks, let him think he was winning, then turn the tables. He couldn't call me out without exposing himself. The game stopped, and Ray never spoke to me again. Wes has a weakness, Lorraine said, outlining her scheme. I rarely drank, booze hit me hard. At the New Year's Eve party, they'd keep my glass topped off. Hannah would do her part, flirting, nudging me toward their goal. Once I was plastered, they'd hustle me upstairs, strip me down, and put me in bed with another woman. They'd snap photos. By morning, I'd wake up, head pounding, with proof I'd cheated. With that leverage, what could I say? I'd have to accept Brenda's new setup. Of course, I wouldn't get the same leeway. This wasn't about fairness, it was about control. Brenda wanted her freedom, I was supposed to nod along. But Hannah balked. Do I really have to sleep with him? She asked, her voice thick with disdain. You don't have to do anything, Lorraine assured her. Just get him in bed, clothes off, and let the pictures handle it. Even that was too much for Hannah, so they picked someone else, My brother Nate's wife, Sylvia. Quiet, shy Sylvia, newly married, pregnant, eager to fit in. She was perfect, meek, compliant, the ideal pawn. Sitting in Brenda's sleek Audi, I stare out over the dark, rolling foothills of Colorado's Front Range. Fog drifted across the valley, and the South Platte River gleamed under the moonlight, a poetic spot for a quiet moment, but no place to hear your marriage crumble. Then Brenda's voice came through. We need to give Wes more time. Another voice, cautious, Patricia. What about Jake? Will he wait? Brenda paused. Jake's antsy. We're both off this week. He thinks it's the perfect time to, well, get a room. A sigh. But I need my Wes, she said softly. He's my first, my true love. Lorraine's voice cut in, icy. Our plan will work. It's tough, but Wes has it coming. I'll talk to him first, Brenda said, but I won't keep Jake waiting forever. The call ended. I had no choice but to head back for Christmas dinner. The air was frosty, strained, except for Hannah, who'd clearly embraced her role, flirting with the aging husband they needed to steer. I barely lifted my fork before Brenda grabbed my hand. Come with me, she said. I glanced at my plate. What about dinner? We're not staying, she replied. We need to talk. Is there anything left to say? Yes, she insisted. But instead of talking, she drove us to the Grandview Hotel in Fort Collins. She'd booked a room. A chilled bottle of sparkling wine sat on the table. I let out a sharp breath. You remembered. How could I forget, she murmured. It was my first time. This is the last time, I said. She shook her head. No, not if we can fix this. She kissed me, slow, deliberate, pulling me in. Like always, it led to the bed. Afterward, she curled against me, whispering her usual line. I love you, Wes. Always will. You're my forever. No one else comes close. I stared at the ceiling, exhaling. Love, maybe. But use it. Definitely. Is there even a difference? She propped up, eyes searching mine. Of course there is, she insisted. That's why I want us to have freedom, because I love you. I shook my head. A caged bird stays because it's trapped. Open the door, and don't expect it to stick around. She frowned. What's that supposed to mean? It means I won't buy it. Her grip tightened on my hand, almost desperate. Believe me, Wes. I only love you. She still didn't get it. Don't let pride wreck us, she pleaded. It's just physical. It doesn't mean anything. I met her gaze, steady. Brenda, you're fighting a losing battle. Just be content with what we've got. I pulled Brenda close, but I knew this was the end. For nearly 20 years, I'd let her cling to the lies she told herself. She sighed, nestling into my shoulder. Oh, Wes, trust me. I whispered my final reply. No, Brenda. Believe me, I'll never accept what you're pushing. With that, I shut it down. By Wednesday, she had dinner plans with Jake. I listened just long enough to confirm what I'd already sensed, no hesitation, no doubts. They'd gone through with it, and I might as well have been invisible. New Year's Eve, I kicked things off at Rusty's Tap, a dive bar in Fort Collins I used to haunt. I called up a couple of old buddies, left my family off the guest list, and kept my head clear. By 7 p.m., I rolled up to Tim's place, reeking of bourbon and cigars, letting them think I was already out of it. As expected, the drinks flowed. Hannah pulled me onto the dance floor, pressing close, playing her part. I went along with it. By midnight, they figured I was ripe for the picking. Hannah and Sylvia each grabbed a hand, leading me upstairs. I let them. They tugged me into a guest room, pushed me onto the bed. Undress him while I get ready, Hannah instructed. Then we'll snap the pictures. Sylvia hesitated, her fingers shaky on my shirt. You know, he's actually in decent shape, she murmured. Doesn't matter, Hannah snapped, slipping out of her top. Just get his jeans off. Sylvia reached for my belt. That's when I spoke. I don't think I want you to do that, unless Hannah's actually willing to cozy up to this old, not so out of shape guy. Sylvia jerked back like she'd touched a live wire. Oh, crap, Hannah muttered under her breath. I sat up, straightening my shirt. My sister warned you, I said coolly. But does anyone in this family ever listen? Hannah's face twisted. I stood, buttoned my cuffs, and smoothed my jacket. Now, I said, go downstairs and send up the woman who calls herself my wife. They bolted from the room. I heard the chaos below, frantic whispers, hurried steps. I didn't bother tapping the spyware. That game was done. Minutes later, Brenda appeared in the doorway. You wanted me? Her voice was small, her face blotchy from tears, nose running, sniffling. She looked desperate, pitiful, not sorry, just sorry she got caught. What do you regret, Brenda? I asked. Wanting another man, or being with him last Wednesday. She gasped, panic flashing in her eyes. No, Wes, please. I love you. It didn't mean anything. You have to believe me. I know you love me, and you'll forgive me. She genuinely thought that, mistaking my calm for weakness. I held her gaze, steady. No, Brenda. I don't. Her face crumpled, desperation pouring out. Wes, please, let's forget this. I cut her off, my tone light, almost playful. Oh, I forgive you, Brenda. Hope sparked in her eyes. There's just one catch, I continued. Her lips parted. What's that? It means I don't love you, I said. Never have, never will. She sucked in a breath. That's not true, she whispered. You're just mad. I let out a low chuckle. Do I sound mad? She blinked fast, like she could rewrite the moment. I gave 19 years to this marriage, I said. It wasn't awful. A fancy cage, maybe, but now the door's open, and I'm stepping out, grateful for it. She grabbed my arm. Wes, stop. You're not leaving me over this. Oh, I am, I said. You wanted an open marriage? I'm giving you the most open one possible, one without me. I turned for the door. Her voice sharpened. What'll you tell our daughters? I paused. Nothing, I said. Goodbye's all I've got for them and you. She inhaled, sharp. You don't mean that. I shrugged. I'd like to think they aren't mine, I said, but knowing them, and knowing my mom, I'm sure they are. I stopped. That wasn't true. My real daughters, the little girls who climbed onto my lap, eyes bright as I read The Velveteen Rabbit, who gripped my hand, whispering, will the rabbit become real? They'd always be mine. They never grew up, I murmured. They're still waiting for the rabbit. With that, I walked out. Of course, Lorraine was waiting, standing with my dad, Roger, blocking the door. Where do you think you're going? She demanded. I smiled. Good question. No clue. Maybe to places I haven't seen in 20 years. Her face twisted. So you're bailing because things got tough? No, I said simply. I'm leaving to find the life I missed. You need us, Wes, my dad sighed. We'll look after you. Brenda's been good to you. We all know how much you rely on her. I met his eyes. Sorry, Dad, I said, grinning. I already left. You just didn't notice. The door was unlocked the whole time, you just had to twist the knob. I leaned in, kissed my mom's cheek, and slipped past them. I left my wife. I left my daughters. I left my family. I was free. Alone, sure, but I'd always been alone. Now, I wouldn't be lonely for long. The old guy still had one thing that counted, money. And tonight, I was cashing out.